All right, it should have worked now. I was live on the wrong link again. I think everyone should hear me now. Can everyone hear me? Can everyone see the Bitcoin chart? I tried like scheduling the stream again. So like I had the link in advance, you know, but of course I failed again. All good now. All right, perfect. Jack Green, welcome man. Good to see you. Perfect. So I guess we can start straight away, right? We've got many people here, which is amazing to see. Before we get into the video, if you enjoyed the stream, leave a like, subscribe to my YouTube. We're going for 10k subs, so if you're not subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. Helps me a lot to grow on YouTube. All right. Thanks to Blowfin and Breakout, my stream partners. Check out the links in the description. And yeah, let's get into the charts. So as always, we'll start off with covering Bitcoin, right? And yeah, it will just be your usual stream. We'll cover some altcoin charts. I'm in 3 longs at the moment, so I'll explain why I entered those, what I'm looking for, where I'm looking to take profit, and also important to cover what I don't want to see, right? What my validation on those is, especially also on Bitcoin, right? We're sitting at a crucial level in the market. There's a lot of people who are bearish here, thinking we break down. There's also people who are bullish here, thinking this was the last dip before moving to all-time highs. So let's see. Time will tell who is right, who is wrong. But as you guys know, it's not about that. It's about staying in the game for the long term and making money, right? So start off with Bitcoin. If you have any questions during the stream, feel free to post them in the chat. Requests we'll keep for the end. All right. So Bitcoin, I have some levels here. I'm gonna remove some of them. Let's keep it to this. Monthly, of course, starting there. Last month's low, last month's high we'll mark out as well. Wrong one. Last month's high there, and then the monthly liquidity that got swept before we broke to the downside and swept monthly lows. So basically the monthly range that we're trading in is basically between last month's low and last month's high. Okay, last month's low gonna be acting as support, last month's high gonna be more than likely acting as resistance. Moving over to the weekly time frame, right? We had this massive sweep right there, which swept a lot of lows, caught everyone offside, right? Surprised a lot of people, but was a clean sweep of liquidity, right? A much needed sweep, in my opinion, that made the chart look a lot healthier on the higher time frames, in my opinion. We got the sweep, then the question was, are we going to reclaim, right? Telling us that it was just a sweep of the downside that would more than likely lead to continuation, or are we breaking down, right, out of this range, and are we gonna trade towards some lower levels down here and down there? All right, and for that I was basically just looking at a weekly, right? Last week, let's actually mark out some weekly levels as well. Last week's high, as those are also gonna be important for your draw on liquidity, and last week's low. All right, and the weekly closed above last month's high, and that's a good thing in my opinion, as we didn't close any candle below last month's low and just below the general support area that we wanted to see hold right here. It lines up with the bigger monthly range that I've been talking about, with this as a range high, right? And these lows, doesn't really matter that much which one you take as the range lows. The point here is Is this going to be the sweep of liquidity above these monthly highs that lead to a break below here, right? A close, retest, and then we target the opposite side of the range? Or is it going to be, right, the sweep of liquidity below this weekly range that leads to a break back inside here and target some higher prices? I just saw we're wicking down on the lower time frames. Let's head over to the lower time frames for that. So, but saying first, on the weekly, what we wanted to see was these levels to hold. We are retesting these levels a couple of times, so that's why I'm saying we are sitting at a crucial area, in my opinion. If we don't hold above these levels, right, and we get a weekly close below last month's low, then I'll be very cautious, right? And I actually think that we do trade lower, at least towards this low right here, into these ugly lows right there, into weekly demand around 76 to 88k. All right, but before that, as I said, I want to see a weekly close below last month's low. As long as we're above those levels, on the other hand, I like to look for longs and I like to look for buy opportunities to target some highs. We got a very aggressive move to the downside, and what you very often get after an aggressive move to the downside is at least a good bounce play back towards some highs before sending it lower. After an aggressive down move, a lot of people are going to be looking for shorts, thinking that you see straight continuation, and what you get then is people start aping in right at support, and they just get squeezed out when we move towards some local highs. So even if we topped right here, I wouldn't be surprised if we first see another sweep of Monday high, another sweep of last week's high, just to take out some stops before ultimately moving lower. All right. So knowing all of that, right, and knowing that we're sitting at key support here with the sentiment, I would say a little bit bearish. I like to look for longs, right? And what we've seen right here, I didn't expect this dip to be that low, but anyways, we got it, right? I took a stop out on some longs that I had on Bitcoin, swing longs, but we saw the higher low. I didn't flip bearish yet, as I wanted to see the weekly close. We got the bounce, right? Sideways price action here, got the bounce, closed pretty strong, and now we're simply in a very lower time frame range. If you take a look at the current weekly range, right, is basically the Monday range in between Monday low and Monday high, that we're just sitting right on top of support. So couple scenarios here for me. I like to assume that this area, because of the confluence in this area being, right, the level from back here being last month's low, Monday low, all lining up, and unswept liquidity to the upside, I like to assume that for now these lows are going to hold. Maybe we go for another sweep of Monday low, that's definitely possible, but after that I like to see upside towards Monday high. From there we'll see if we get a sweep and a rejection, right, then target lower again, be cautious on longs. If we don't, we close strong up here, then I think at least towards last week's high into last month's high key resistance, and from there we'll see if we do something like this and break back down again. Once again, that would be wouldn't be a good sign. If we break significantly above here and market structure is bullish, at that point we can start talking about all-time highs again. But before we see that, right, a lot will need to happen. Play it level to level, but for now, at this point, right, once again, it's one of those occasions where you're sitting on support and you gotta ask yourself the question, if you long here, where's your invalidation? If you short here, where is your invalidation? And for me, if I long here, I know that I'm wrong, probably below this low already. I don't, although maybe we go for a sweep there and then still see the reclaim. But what if we're really bullish here, I'd like the maximum downside I want to see is a sweep of Monday low, then a reclaim, and then higher prices. Okay, so where's invalidation? Resting right below there. Target, Monday high and the high up there. As you can see, that's already 1.8R. Sitting on support, so high probability, for me at least. Ask yourself the question, if you were to short here, where's your invalidation going to be? I don't like putting my stop loss right above Monday high because that's a draw on liquidity. I don't like putting it above last week's high as that's a big draw on liquidity. So as you can see, risky reward on shorts, not the best at the moment. Then in that case, I'd rather wait for example, a sweep there and take my short there with a closer invalidation, or a sweep of last week's high and then wait for a breakdown, take my short there and keep my invalidation there, right? So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that explains why I'm looking for, well, I am in a long actually at the moment. I posted it on X why I took this long, right? I'm sitting at break even at the moment, but you get the idea. Monday low is not swept yet. I had a feeling we would front run it. We got some upside, swept some very local highs. Flat top here on the hourly, right? Now wicked back down. You're gonna see ugly price action when you get these kind of formations. Bulls are fighting with bears, right? It's gonna give you mixed signals. You might think that this is bearish, you might think that something else is bullish. They wanna make you get chopped up before making the actual move. So in situations like this, what I would advise everyone to do is try once, and if you fail, stay out of the market until you get a bigger move. So in this case, I took it long here, my invalidation is there. If it does this, right, I'll still be in. If it does this, I'll get stopped out, I'll stay out, right, see what it does, sit out for a while, come back fresh and see where we're at, okay? Because what you don't want to do, right, is start taking, especially in conditions like this, start taking these lower time frame trades with stops right below here, and then you get stopped, and then you flip short, right, with close invalidation, then it squeezes back up, you get stopped again, then it rejects again, right? That will only lead to over trading and losses that are very unnecessary, especially because after all of those, you could still see prices move into the direction you initially predicted. All right, so once again, for me, where we're sitting at right now is a crucial area. A breakdown from here would be bad, I agree, but risk reward down here for longs is very good to me. If you look at the daily as well, and simply using this last month's low as a support level, on the daily, what do you see? So initial sweep, didn't sweep on Coinbase, but this move did, right? And then reclaim, good close, a flat daily top, right? Which could be acting as a draw on price. Retest, so straight down from Tuesday open, retesting Monday low, retesting last month's low. So as long as we hold in this area, that would be a logical place for us to bounce at least towards Monday high. So that's why I took this setup with invalidation there. First target will be Monday high, and like I said, focus on the higher time frames. You don't want to, especially in cases like this where you're this close to, are we going to bounce, are we going to break down, you're gonna get ugly price action on the lower time frames. So stick to the higher time frames, and yeah, it's pretty obvious that the daily candle that you see right here, where's your invalidation there? Well, if you break down below here and you get a daily close below here, yeah, then it looks horrible. But until then, all I'm seeing here is a sweep of last month's low, a reclaim, and now a retest. And let it do what it wants on the lower time frames. I know where I'm wrong. I know what I want to see. So those are the reasons I'm long. I could be wrong, as always. But that's exactly the game we play. Any questions? What percentage will you TP on Monday high? Likely quite a lot already. maybe 40% or something, and then I could trail my stops to, like I said, I'm not trying to get a move here to all-time highs. I have my spot for that. I tried it once, margin swing longs to all-time highs. I failed. I got stopped out here. All I'm doing right now is trading not the lower time frames, but trading the bounce play. So I want to get in and I want to get out, take my money, and go to the next setup. So likely take off like 40%, see how we react. If we break above here, right, start consolidating here and it looks bullish, we'll likely continue towards last week's high. And from there, I'll likely be mostly out of longs. Because if there is going to be an area where we are going to reject after a bounce, I think it will be this area in general. So above here into this supply, the latest sideways price action that led to this massacre, all lining up in the same area. And if you draw your OTE, I'm not gonna use this wick. Why not? Because it's pretty much different on every exchange. But this wick right here is pretty similar on all exchanges, and that is so we got the big dump, buyback, right, and then grinding down, and then from here we saw the first decent bounce. So that's why I'm taking that as the low. If you draw your OTE, where is it going to be resting? Right in that area. So like I said, if I want to be looking for an area where I could see big resistance on the way up, and basically the last big resistance on the way up before all-time highs is gonna be there. So we are sitting at the bottom of the range, so high probability of a bounce. If we break down, so be it. What I want to see here is upside to Monday high. From there we'll see. If we break above there, likely towards the supply up here, key area, I'll be mostly out of longs and sit out. Watch the higher time frame closes. If the higher time frames, the weekly and stuff, close in this area, that would be a good sign, and then we could start talking about way higher prices and new all-time highs. But for now, watching these lower time frame plays, watching the bounce and seeing what it wants to do. But yeah, we just got this ugly wick, right? That's a good thing in my opinion. I was watching the 4 hour and I was like, yeah, like on this move, right? We did see some strength, but I didn't like the look of the 4 hour candle. We basically didn't have a wick to the downside, at least not a big wick. I think it was this one, right? Or this one right there, but even then, the 4 hour on this time frame wasn't looking too healthy. We swept this 4 hour flat top. So classic, you get that spike down to make a bigger 4 hour wick to the downside. It would have even been better if you would have swept Monday low with it. But what you get at these lows, I said it before, is you're gonna get that lower time frame chop, right? To trap everyone, to chop everyone up before ultimately making the move. So I wouldn't be surprised if we spend a couple more hours and maybe tomorrow the move comes to Monday high, right? But let everyone flip. Bull on a spike, bear on a dump, bull on a spike, bear on a dump. Maybe not this extreme, maybe something like this. And then make your actual move. So that's why, for me, I'm not gonna be managing on the lower time frames. I know that I'm long, targeting Monday high. I know that I could see a sweep of Monday low first, maybe even sweep this one right here. Right, so when it comes, I will feel more relaxed in my positions. My risk is managed, and now it's up to the market. All right, any questions? If Monday low sweeps, what are you expecting? Aggressive movement or just high time frame deviation. I don't really get the question there. If Monday low sweeps, we'll have to see, right? If it acts weak below Monday low, then there's a bigger chance that we bleed down and go for new lows. But if we see this, right, and we smash back up after, it's more likely that we go for the opposite side of the range, opposite side of liquidity, which is Monday high. The low time frame is bearish. Don't you believe that we could fill the whole week of the 10th of October and still watching for a bottom, or then you will be bearish? Yeah, I get what you're saying, and that's what I've been saying as well, and especially on this weekly, right? So I was bullish and swing longing after we got this week, but then we started dumping, right? Dump below last month's low even, and then everyone was like, are you flipping bearish now? And I said no. And why not? Because we didn't see a breakdown yet. We just wicked below it, but got the buyback and still closed strong. So if we right now or tomorrow, or I don't know, do this, am I gonna be bearish targeting 80k? Maybe not. Am I gonna be longing again? Also not. But I'm also not gonna be shorting, because then price would be down a lot again and would sweep liquidity again. And I could see us still do this and smash back above after, and this being the low in. If that happens, so be it. We'll wait out the weekly close, see where it closes. If it swept last week's low, right, and reclaimed last month's high and closed within here, I'll be looking for fresh longs on the dip, targeting last week's high again. All right, so that should answer your question. Let's do ETH next. Let's grab a cleaner chart. Let's start fresh. So what I've been watching for ETH is the monthly chart as well. Important levels: last month's low, last month's high. Right, aggressive week to the downside, swept last month's low, and last month's high is still unswept. Another big level that I always mark out here is this one. Why that one was the highest close that we got in all of this resistance, right? And if you just take a look at it generally, you can see that it's just been the area where we kept rejecting and dumping lower, lines up with weekly demand right here. So the sideways price action that finally led to the breakout. What we did now, last month's low swept, reclaimed, we closed above on the weekly, and on the weekly right now, what we're still seeing is a retest of these levels. So once again, we are very close to a very bearish close, to a very bearish breakdown, but lower time frames, we are, in my opinion, sitting at support. Where's other liquidity gonna be resting? Well, below these lows and above these highs. But seeing the daily candle, swept Monday low, unswept Monday high, Monday low and Monday high, swept Monday low, right? Swept monthly lows on the higher time frame here, retest, right? Upside, bounced, and now swept Monday low. So max risk reward and closest invalidation for longs here. We are sitting at support. So that's why for Ethereum as well, we could be very close to breaking down here, but I refuse to become bearish after we swept Monday low, swept monthly lows, and are retesting support with Monday high unswept and this key high right here unswept, and even On Ethereum, even higher. Monthly lows up here, also unswept, right? Before we get to there, we'll have to break above some key levels first. But in my opinion, if we start reclaiming this and we start seeing some momentum, there will not be a lot of resistance on the way up until up here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get going, right? That we at least fill in towards this blue area. Once again, OTE from the high to the low. Not this low, but this low. Lining up beautifully up here, above key liquidity, clean supply, the area where we started breaking down from. So if we get above Monday low again and we start seeing some momentum, I think at least in there, and then we'll have to see if we sweep in there, break back down, that would be bearish, target lower a bit, maybe all the way back to here, maybe put in a higher low somewhere in this area, Monday low, Monday high area. If you get sideways price action there, could be future demand building up, right? If you retest that area, then look for bullish price action on the lower time frames and then maybe bounce to all-time highs. But I cannot see why you would be shorting down here after we swept high time frame liquidity to the downside, low time frame liquidity to the downside, and you have clean high time frame and low time frame liquidity resting above us. Make sense? And once again, we are chopping. It might look scary. It always looks scary before it bounces. Like no one dares to call for longs right now. Like everyone wants to be right on X, and everyone, like right now, it looks like it wants to roll over and go for new lows. But then you get the bounce, and then you'll see them pop up and be bullish again. But yeah, we'll see. You know, money where my mouth is. I'm long on Bitcoin. I'm swing long on Ethereum. Right? Still, I'm still underwater on Ethereum swing longs, but that so be it. Right? I know where I'm wrong on a breakdown below last month's low and this key level right there. So close invalidation here. Now it's up to the market. Next one up is TRX. I am in longs. Oh, this is acting strong actually. That's nice. I entered this setup this morning. I posted it in the Discord, as you can see right here. And basically the plan was pretty simple. Bitcoin was acting very weak, but was sitting right at support around Monday low, and TRX right swept Monday low and was acting pretty damn strong. So that's why I pulled the trigger, stop loss right below this consolidation, allowing for another sweep lower below Monday low into this lower time frame demand right there. So gave it some room, but as you can see, solid reaction from the sweep. And now in my opinion, where's liquidity gonna be resting? So yeah, that was the main reason. 3 sweeps to the downside, then lower time frame swept Monday low. The opposite side of all of this liquidity was this high right here, which didn't get swept. So triple, yeah, if you count this one as well, it's more like equal highs up here, telling us that there's gonna be a lot of liquidity resting above those highs. So that's why I entered this, gave it a little more room to pump in case we break out. But I will be half out of this position if we sweep Monday high. From there, hold on to the other half in case it like breaks out and puts in a strong close. Then I could definitely see it run a lot further. All right, that's that one. And then last one is Link. Also one I entered. I posted on Twitter about Link yesterday, and I said it was showing strength on this move, right? So I was watching it this morning and saw that we retraced here, but overall we hadn't dumped that that much compared to some other altcoins and compared to Bitcoin, telling us it was still showing strength, in my opinion at least. Showing on a Monday low, a Monday high, right? And your bigger range with this as a range low and this as a range high. What does that tell you? Range lows swept, range highs unswept, and then Monday low and Monday high unswept, so could still go for a sweep on both. That's why I kept my stop below here, below this range low, allowing for price to still sweep Monday low and see a reclaim, and then moving to Monday high. If that doesn't hold, I'm likely wrong on the ID. But liquidity resting higher above Monday high and above this high right there. Liquidity lower has been taken. Yeah, of course. After this week, I think high time frame liquidity got taken, but also if you ignore that wick, right, you have this low right here that got taken on this move. So that's why this setup. And that's about it for me. That's about everything that I'm watching. Right, any more questions? So yeah, gold is nuking a bit. We'll have to see if some of that liquidity is going to flow into the crypto markets, but that could be a first sign, of course. Silver dumping as well, platinum as well. Personally, I'm waiting a bit for some weekly closes, because like up here, no, sorry, down here, like everyone was calling for a top in gold, right? And then classic, you get one more run to the highs, but now it's looking pretty damn weak. So is this the double top that's gonna lead to a lot lower prices? We don't know, but what I'm gonna be doing is watching the weekly close, all right? Because you now have a clean range, right? There, and I could still see gold surprising a lot of people by sweeping this, reclaiming, and still putting in a strong weekly close. So if the weekly closes below there, yeah, I think we're gonna retest lower. And the area on the weekly that I'd be watching at that point, yeah, the clean area would be down here. But of course, like, it's not because if gold would close like this in the red that we're straight up targeting down here, you know. But if we do happen to test this area, I think that would be a nice area for a bounce play, at least back towards some highs. Stocks look amazing, right? Trading almost at all-time highs again. Yeah, I think after a daily close like this, it will not take long before we trade into all-time highs again. So, but yeah, stock strength hasn't really helped Bitcoin in showing some strength lately. So is it lagging, right? Is it just weak? We'll have to see. But that pretty much lines up, right, with Bitcoin being at a crucial area for a bounce. So let's say gold, like commodities in general, start pulling back a bit, and some of that liquidity flows into Bitcoin, and we break to some new highs, stocks into all-time highs. That would be the ideal scenario, right? But yeah, we'll have to see, of course. So that's that. And then lastly, the dollar. Yeah, I posted about this on Twitter yesterday, I think, as well. Let me quickly explain again. So we have this weekly range that we've been watching for ages, right? With these as the weekly range lows, these as the highs, swept the highs into OTE. Up there, we call the scenario if we now break down within this range again, and then we can start talking the opposite side of the range, which would be good for Bitcoin, and that's what happened. But now, right, we are below range lows. So is this a breakdown or a sweep, and we reclaim this? To know that, it's all about this range low level, right? And on the lower time frames, on the daily, we are bouncing from this blue daily demand. So we'll have to see. It's currently looking a little bit strong. If we see a reclaim of this and close the weekly above here, I think that will be bullish, and then we can start targeting higher, which on the higher time frames wouldn't be ideal for Bitcoin. Or if we keep rejecting this weekly range low on the retest and start rolling over a bit, break below this blue area, then I think we will start accelerating to the downside and target weekly demand all the way down here. Okay. And that's about it. But yeah, as I said, it's an interesting point in time. A lot of traders, respected traders, right, are bullish, and a lot of respected traders in the scene are bearish. So it's interesting, and it makes sense, right? We've seen this massacre, right, on the 10th of October, that Friday, where we nuked, and Bitcoin was fine, you know. Bitcoin swept monthly liquidity, but we could have. I'm not gonna say we could have seen this coming, right? But if you watch my streams, I've been talking about monthly liquidity below there for weeks, you know. So for Bitcoin, I wasn't too surprised. It's more about altcoins that just got absolutely nuked, right? Some of them dumped 80% and stuff. So it makes sense that some people flip bearish because of that event, in my opinion. But watching at the Bitcoin chart, I would wait for proper confirmation and a real breakdown, because in my opinion, if you watch from a weekly market structure perspective, we've seen these weekly sweeps before. Right here, we also swept the lows, right? What if this is a similar structure where we swept the lows and now start reclaiming this and maybe see acceleration to the upside? Who knows? Well, not who knows. I think it's a valid scenario, right? So that's what I'm watching here, what I'm waiting for. So yeah, let's see what we get. Nothing to do, but let the market do whatever it wants, right? Sol, BNB, and Litecoin will do next. Solana, yeah, this was the chart that I was the most bearish on since we traded into these highs right here. On basically everything. Why? Because I said up there that I don't think this is a good time to ape into Solana, because we're sitting at key resistance OTE from this leg to the downside. This was the high that got swept aggressively here, so that's gonna be key resistance. And yeah, supply here was a sideways price action where we started aggressively dumping from. You can go watch you can go watch back in the streams. I said it before it happened, not the best time to ape in, and yeah, look at what happened after. So for now, for me, still the same thoughts. Where am I gonna flip really bullish on Solana? Above this area, right? If we now pump back above here, close super strong above this, ideally above this level, then I buy the retest and target all-time highs. But until then, I'm not really convinced that Solana is gonna do anything over the next couple of months. And I hope you can see the difference between Solana, for example, and Ethereum, right? If you compare this leg on Ethereum to this leg on Solana, Solana rejected at OTE and didn't break above these former highs, while Ethereum clearly did, right? These were the former highs, we broke above, market structure is bullish, Is this gonna be the higher low that leads to this? We'll see. We covered our plan on Ethereum. We covered why we're bullish on this until we break down. But I hope you understand why then this is my thoughts on Solana. So yeah, that's from a higher time frame perspective. Of course, if everything is going to bounce, this will likely bounce as well, you know. So then I'd be watching this high, maybe sweep in there, and then look for shorts back down. BNB, I longed this one. I was long from when was it? The weekend, I think, or from last week even. We were watching this low right here for a sweep to long back towards this high. So we did that, saw some strength here, but then low time frame swept these highs, and then I closed out my long for small profit because I didn't like it anymore. And also these last couple of the last couple of weeks to months, obviously BNB has been the outperformer, right? Trading into new all-time highs very aggressively. But the last couple of days after we swept this, it's been nothing but weak price action, right? Usually it was the first one to bounce aggressively. Now when things bounce, this one is just acting weak, and that's usually a sign. So that's why I closed my bounce play longs, I'll call it, to sit out a bit. I think like weekly time frame? I mean, it still traded to new all-time highs, but the weekly is not looking too good in my opinion, right? Swept last week's high on this move and closed very ugly. So yeah, cautious. We are sitting at support, weekly support, right? This area right here. But if we get a decent bounce on this, I might actually take some profit on my spot bags. That would look something like, if we do this and then somewhere around these highs. Like BNB is another example why I think we bounce before trading lower. I don't think this, right, after this and then such a small bounce is just gonna do this. I think it would make more sense to bounce from here in here and then start trading lower. But we'll see, you know. Yeah, I might look for a fresh long if we trade a little bit lower. Somewhere there. Not the best. It's okay. Something like this would make sense in my opinion. And then Litecoin, yeah, Litecoin, nothing changed. The only reason I'm holding this is the higher time frame look, and yeah, that's still the case, you know. Monthly range, range low, range high. What are these drawings? We swept all of these lows now, so now we'll have to see. But what is still the key area that we need to break above in order for us to break out of a monthly range up here. So if Bitcoin sees a good bounce and trades into new all-time highs potentially, then I think Litecoin, it will be go time as well. If Bitcoin doesn't, yeah, we might have to wait another 2, 3, 4 years before that move happens, so we'll see. But for now, as I said, it's a critical area for the whole market. We'll have to see, okay? Next couple of days, 2 weeks are gonna be important. This one, not sure what this is. Yeah, I'm not gonna cover this, you know, it looks like shit. Pengu. Same thing. These are the lows. opposite side are the highs up here. So if you want to be bullish on this, at least wait for a break above here, and then you can target the highs. But until then, this is going to be key resistance, and I wouldn't be surprised if you bleed all the way down into the wick. So not looking good. Hype. Yeah, hype. It's funny, we've been talking about all of these lows, right? Ever since, I think, up here or like right there. And then we did take them all. So I like it more after we've taken all of those lows. But the lower time frame structure is basically the same on everything, right? Aggressive wick, then put in the low, move to the high, came back to the low, swept the low, reclaim, now retest. So as long as we hold above this, I could see us bounce back towards there. Break below here, then likely go for another sweep, wait for the break above here again, then this becomes your new invalidation and you target up here. But yeah, looking better than some other meme coin charts. I mean, I'm not calling it a meme coin, but you know, like the one I just did, like Pengu and stuff, look horrible. Useless. No need to post your coin multiple times, by the way. But anyways, useless. Yeah, so it looked bullish. It had a lot of strength, and then traded briefly to all-time highs there, but then rejected ugly, broke back within the range, which is not ideal. Now pumped into supply and got rejected. So either I'm waiting for a break above here, then we can start targeting new all-time highs, or I think this is just ranging in between here, range lows and range highs. So stuff like this. And I'm not interested in trading that. So Litecoin we did, yeah. Plasma. Yeah. Looks bad, right? Nuked all the way down. Now just ranging. I want to see a bigger range, to be honest, on the daily. Where it goes for some lows again. Maybe this as range low, this as range high. I would want to see something like this. And then sweep the lows, reclaim, and then I could go for a long targeting here. That would be a bounce play I would trade. But apart from that, I'm not interested in buying here. See you, Jack. Thanks for coming. So yeah, not interested. What's your thoughts on the different discrepancies in the wicks on different exchanges like Binance versus Coinbase? Well, that's what I explained, right? That's why you often don't want to use these wicks, especially as key draws on liquidity. But the wicks that were made after that move, right? Ignore this wick and use this wick instead. So that's what I'm doing. Like last week's low, last week's high, those are going to be the key levels. But yeah, you can still count this obviously as a sweep of high time frame liquidity to the downside. But this level on itself is pretty useless, in my opinion. Atom. Yeah, I mean, why would you look at a coin like this, right? If you want my thoughts, well, stay away until it reclaims this, and then we could, yeah, maybe first target here, then here, then here. Until then, this is resistance, and we could bleed all the way back down. Are you using Breakout? Yes, they are the partners of the stream. So if you want to try it out, I have a discount code in the description, which you can use. Aster. Yeah, so this, I love this chart. After that aggressive nuke, as it swept these very clean range lows, and then we had that Monday range here where it swept Monday low into range lows, right? So I love this chart, but unfortunately my setup didn't play out. I didn't take a stop out on this. I closed it when it was like acting weak. I'm not even sure if I lost any money on it. I think I closed it around break even or something and was going to sit out for a while. But yeah, now that it broke down again, especially after this move, we did sweep this, but as you can see, ever since it's just been acting very weak. So for now, I would just not focus on this one, as I could see it dump all the way back down to like 0.7 or something. If on the other hand, we smash back above here, reclaim this, then you could go for the bounce play, right, and buy the retest there, simply to target some highs up here, maybe into range mean. If it reclaims range mean, then target new all-time highs. But until then, I think the more likely scenario is for this to bleed lower and not show a lot of strength. Come on. Let's go. All right. So, any more requests? Otherwise, I'm gonna hop off. We covered everything that we wanted to cover. Litecoin low time frame. I mean, yeah, for me, Litecoin is more about a high time frame. As I said, if we break above this area, but low time frame looks pretty clean as well. These were your lows, these are your highs. Swept the lows. As long as we hold above this level, I could see it move towards the opposite side of the range, which are range highs. If you break below here, wait it out, see how low it goes. If it reclaims this, that's your trigger. Invalidation becomes there, and you target still the opposite side of the range. But I could definitely see this bounce from here and go to these highs. All right, cool. So I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe. We're going for 10k subs, so hit the subscribe button. And yeah, I'll be in the Discord, of course, to give you guys some updates, on Twitter as well. So if you want to join, use one of those links in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.